Are you tired of this familiar March story? You carefully plant your seeds, you give them light, you give them water, and they come up looking thin, weak, and leggy, flopping over at the slightest breeze. It's one of the most frustrating parts of starting a garden. What if I told you there's one simple, natural ingredient you can add to your soil this month that will completely change that story? An ingredient that acts like a secret superpower for your plants, making them grow stronger, healthier, and more resilient from the very first day. You might think it's some expensive, complicated chemical, but I promise you, it's something straight from nature that works like magic. Stay tuned, because we are about to reveal the gardener's ultimate secret weapon for building incredibly robust plants, and you'll wonder how you ever gardened without it. So let's set the stage. Why is March such a make or break month for our plants? Well, for many of us, March is a month of transition and high hopes. We're starting seeds indoors, where the light is often less than ideal. Even with grow lights, the days are getting longer, but the sun's intensity isn't quite at its summer peak. This environment is the perfect recipe for creating those weak, stretched out seedlings we all dread. They are reaching for light that just isn't strong enough. Then they face the ultimate stress test, transplanting into the garden, where they're hit with fluctuating temperatures, wind, and the shock of a new environment. A plant that starts weak in March is fighting an uphill battle for the rest of the season. It's more susceptible to pests, diseases, and stress. That's why giving them a fundamental advantage at the root level, right at the beginning, isn't just a small boost. It's the foundation for the entire season's success. All right, the moment you've been waiting for. The secret ingredient we're adding this March is mycorrhizal fungi. Now don't let that scientific name scare you. Let's break it down. Mycorrhizal. Think of it as a beneficial, living fungus that forms a partnership with your plant's roots. This isn't a fertilizer, it's not plant food in the traditional sense. It's a partner, an ally. Imagine hiring a massive microscopic team to go out and forage for food and water for your plants, in exchange for a little bit of sugar. That is exactly what mycorrhizal fungi do. You purchase it as a dry, powdery or granular substance called an inoculant, which is filled with dormant spores. When these spores come into contact with a living plant root, they spring to life and begin to grow, creating a powerful, symbiotic relationship that has existed in nature for over 400 million years. It's the most ancient and successful partnership on the planet, and we're going to harness it in our home gardens. So how does this incredible partnership actually work? It's a beautiful example of symbiosis, a mutually beneficial relationship. Here's the deal your plant makes with the fungus. The plant, through photosynthesis, creates sugars, carbohydrates, which is its energy source. It sends about 25 to 40% of this precious energy down to its roots and shares it with the fungus. Think of it as paying the fungus for its services. In return, the fungus extends its incredibly fine, thread-like structures, called hyphae, far out into the soil. These threads are vastly smaller and more extensive than the plant's own roots, allowing them to penetrate tiny soil pores where the roots can't go. The fungus then absorbs crucial nutrients and water from the soil and transports them directly back to the plant. It's a perfect trade. The plant gets essential minerals it couldn't access on its own, and the fungus gets the energy it needs to survive and expand its network. It's a handshake deal happening constantly right under our feet. To truly understand the power of this, you have to visualize the network it creates. A plant's root system on its own is impressive, but when you add mycorrhizal fungi, you're effectively increasing the surface area of that root system by hundreds or even thousands of times. Those tiny fungal threads, the hyphae, create a massive, intricate web that radiates out from the host plant's roots. This web is so extensive that a single teaspoon of healthy living soil can contain several miles of these fungal filaments. It's like giving your plant a root system that extends into your entire garden bed. This network doesn't just serve one plant either. It can connect multiple plants, even of different species, creating a shared nutrient and communication highway underground. This is often called the Wood Wide Web. It's a living, breathing, intelligent system that we are simply plugging our seedlings into, giving them access to a level of resources they could never achieve alone. Let's talk about the first major benefit of this massive network: enhanced nutrient uptake. Plants need a variety of minerals to thrive, but some are notoriously difficult for them to absorb from the soil. The most important one is phosphorus. Phosphorus is absolutely essential for strong root development, flower production, and fruit set. However, it's not very mobile in the soil, and plants can only absorb it if their roots come into direct contact with it. The mycorrhizal fungi are absolute masters at sourcing phosphorus. Their fine hyphae can unlock phosphorus that is chemically bound to soil particles, making it available to the plant. They essentially act as microscopic miners, extracting this precious resource and delivering it right to the plant's doorstep. But it's not just phosphorus. They also significantly improve the uptake of other key nutrients like nitrogen, zinc, copper, and manganese, ensuring your plant has a complete and balanced diet right from the start. The second incredible benefit, and one that is becoming more important every year, is drought resistance. We all know the stress of a hot, dry summer spell. Our plants wilt and we have to water constantly. The mycorrhizal network acts like a giant sponge. Because the fungal hyphae extend so far beyond the plant's roots, they can access water from a much larger volume of soil. When the soil right around the plant's roots starts to dry out, the fungal network can still find and transport water from deeper, moister soil layers. This creates a buffer, allowing your plants to withstand periods of drought far better than their non-inoculated counterparts. They will wilt less, recover faster, and require less frequent watering from you. This is especially critical for young seedlings and transplants in March and April, when a sudden dry, windy day can be devastating. By establishing this network early, you are building in a natural insurance policy against water stress for the entire season. Now, for a benefit that might surprise you: improved resistance to diseases and pests. A plant that is well fed and well hydrated is fundamentally a stronger plant. Just like a healthy person is less likely to get sick, a plant with optimal nutrition is better equipped to fight off potential threats. Its cell walls are stronger, and its internal immune system is more robust. But the mycorrhizal fungi offer more than just passive benefits. The dense web of hyphae around the roots can form a physical barrier, making it more difficult for soil-borne pathogens, like harmful fungi and nematodes, to reach and infect the plant's roots. Some species of mycorrhizal fungi have even been shown to produce compounds that actively inhibit the growth of these pathogens. So by adding this beneficial fungus, you are not only feeding your plant, you are also providing it with a dedicated security team that protects its most vulnerable part, the root system. Let's bust a common myth right now. It is crucial to understand that mycorrhizal fungi are not a fertilizer. If you're looking for a quick, green up your lawn overnight product, this isn't it. Traditional NPK fertilizers are like giving a plant a prepared meal. They provide a direct, immediately available source of nutrients. Mycorrhizal inoculant, on the other hand, is like giving your plant the best possible set of tools to go out and find its own food. It doesn't contain the nutrients itself. It empowers the plant to access the nutrients already present in your soil. This is a fundamental shift in thinking. Instead of constantly feeding the plant, we are building a self-sustaining system. In fact, using high levels of synthetic, high phosphorus fertilizers can actually be counterproductive, as it signals to the plant that it doesn't need a fungal partner, which can prevent this beneficial relationship from ever forming. We're moving from being a short-order cook to being a systems architect for our garden. So, why is March the absolute perfect time to do this? Because this symbiotic relationship needs to be established at the earliest possible moment in a plant's life for maximum benefit. The spores in the inoculant need to make direct physical contact with a living root to activate. The ideal time to do this is during seeding, or when you are transplanting your small seedlings. By applying the powder directly to the seeds or dusting it into the planting hole where the young roots will immediately touch it, you are ensuring the partnership begins from day one. This gives the plant a massive head start. As the seedling grows its first true roots, the fungus is growing right alongside it, already beginning to build that vast underground network. This means that by the time the plant is ready to face the stresses of the outside world, its supercharged root system is already fully operational, ready to supply it with all the water and nutrients it needs to thrive, not just survive. When you start shopping for a mycorrhizal inoculant, you might notice a few different types, but for home gardeners, it's pretty simple. The vast majority of plants we grow, about 95%, including vegetables, fruits, flowers and grasses, form a relationship with a type called endomycorrhizae. That's ENDO. This type of fungus actually penetrates the root cells to form a very intimate connection. The other main type is ectomycorrhizae, ECTO, which primarily forms a sheath around the outside of the roots and is mainly associated with coniferous trees and some hardwoods like oaks and birches. For your vegetable garden, your flower beds and your fruit trees, you want to look for a product that contains a diverse blend of endomycorrhizal species. Most commercially available products for gardeners will be exactly this. Don't get too bogged down in the details. Just make sure the product you choose is labelled for general garden use and contains endo species. Okay, so you're at the garden centre or shopping online and you see several different products. How do you choose the best one? Here are a couple of things to look for on the label. First, check the species diversity. A good product will contain a blend of several different species of endomycorrhizal fungi, often listed by their scientific names like Glomus intraradices or Glomus mossii. Different species are effective in different soil conditions, so a diverse blend gives you a better chance of success. Second, you can look at the spore count or propagule count, which tells you the concentration of viable spores in the product. While a higher number can be better, species diversity is often more important than just a massive number of a single species. Also, be mindful of the product's expiration date. These are living organisms, and their viability decreases over time. Store the powder in a cool, dry, dark place to protect the spores until you are ready to use them for your March planting. Let's cover the first and perhaps easiest application method, seed coating. This is perfect for when you're starting seeds indoors in March. It ensures that the very first root to emerge from the seed, the radicle, comes into immediate contact with the fungal spores. It's incredibly simple. Take a small clean container, like a little bowl or a plastic bag. Put your seeds inside. Add just a tiny drop of water. You only want to make the seeds slightly damp, not wet. Then, add a small amount of the mycorrhizal inoculant powder. You don't need to overdo it. A little puff is plenty. Close the bag or cover the bowl and shake it gently until the seeds are evenly coated with a fine dusting of the powder. That's it. You can now plant your seeds as you normally would, in your seed starting mix. This simple 10-second step jumpstarts the symbiotic process from the very beginning of the plant's life. The second and most common method is applying it directly into the planting hole when you're transplanting. This works for the seedlings you started in March when you move them to bigger pots, and it works again when you move them out into the garden a few weeks later. The principle is exactly the same. Get the spores in direct contact with the roots. When you've prepared the hole for your transplant, simply sprinkle a small amount of the granular or powdered inoculant into the bottom of the hole. The amount will vary by product, but it's typically around half a teaspoon to a full teaspoon per plant. Then, place your seedling's root ball directly on top of the powder. As you backfill the hole with soil, you can sprinkle a little more around the sides of the root ball to ensure complete coverage. This method is highly effective because it places a high concentration of spores exactly where they need to be, guaranteeing a quick and robust colonization of the root system. What if you have plants that are already established in your garden or in pots? Can you still give them this benefit? Yes, you can, using a method called a soil drench. This is generally considered less effective than applying at the time of planting because you can't guarantee direct root contact, but it's still beneficial. You simply mix the recommended amount of the mycorrhizal inoculant powder or water-soluble granules into a watering can filled with non-chlorinated water. It's important to use water that's been left out for 24 hours to allow any chlorine to evaporate, as chlorine can harm the spores. Stir the mixture well and then water the soil around the base of your existing plants. To improve the chances of the spores reaching the roots, you can use a garden fork to gently poke a few holes in the soil around the plant's drip line before you apply the drench. This helps the solution penetrate deeper into the root zone. Now let's talk about what not to do. There are a few key mistakes that can render your inoculant completely useless, and it would be a shame to waste your money and effort. The number one mistake is using a high phosphorus synthetic fertilizer at the same time. As we discussed, if a plant has access to an overabundance of easy phosphorus, it won't signal for a fungal partner. A fertilizer with a high middle number, the P in NPK, will suppress the relationship. Stick to organic, slow-release fertilizers. The second mistake is letting the inoculant get too hot or sit in direct sunlight. The spores are living, and excessive heat will kill them. Store it properly. Finally, remember that direct contact is king. Simply mixing the powder into your potting soil and then planting into it is far less effective than specifically placing the powder right on the seeds or roots. Be targeted with your application for the best possible results. So, which of your garden plants are going to see the biggest boost from this? The great news is that the vast majority of them will. The all-stars of the vegetable garden are prime candidates. Plants in the nightshade family, like tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants, form incredibly strong bonds and show dramatic improvements in growth and yield. The same goes for the cucurbit family, which includes cucumbers, squash, and melons. Corn absolutely loves it. Legumes like beans and peas also benefit greatly. In the flower garden, roses are famous for their positive response to mycorrhizal fungi. Most perennials, herbs and annuals will also form the connection. And don't forget your fruit trees and berries. Essentially, if you are growing it in your garden, there's a very high probability, around a 95% chance, that it will benefit from an application of endomycorrhizal inoculant this March. While most plants benefit, there are a few notable exceptions. It's important to know which plants do not form this symbiotic relationship, so you don't waste your valuable inoculant on them. The biggest group to remember is the Brassica family. This includes all your cole crops, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts, and radishes. Their root systems have evolved differently, and they simply do not allow the fungi to colonize them. Other common garden plants that don't form the association include beets, spinach, and chard from the Amaranthaceae family. Blueberries and rhododendrons are also an exception. They form a relationship with a completely different type of fungus called ericoid mycorrhizae, which is not usually found in general-purpose inoculants. So for these specific plants, you can save your inoculant and focus on providing them with good quality compost and organic matter instead. One of the most profound aspects of using mycorrhizal fungi is that you're not just treating a single plant for a single season. You are actively participating in building long-term soil health. When you establish these fungal networks, they become a permanent part of your garden's soil food web. The hyphae excrete a sticky substance called glomalin, which acts like a glue, binding tiny soil particles together into larger aggregates. This process dramatically improves soil structure. Better soil structure means better aeration, better water infiltration, and less compaction. You are literally building a more resilient, fertile, and living soil from the ground up. This isn't a quick fix. It's a regenerative practice. Each year that you encourage this fungal life, your soil will become healthier, requiring fewer inputs from you and producing stronger, more vibrant plants as a result. You're shifting from being a plant feeder to a soil builder. This entire approach is a cornerstone of organic and regenerative gardening. It represents a fundamental shift away from a chemical-based mindset, which often views soil as an inert medium to which we must add everything a plant needs. Instead, we are embracing a biological mindset, viewing the soil as a living ecosystem teeming with billions of organisms. Our job as gardeners is not to replace these natural systems, but to support and enhance them. Mycorrhizal fungi are one of the most powerful tools we have to do that. By working with nature's own technology, we can reduce our reliance on synthetic fertilizers, conserve water, and grow healthier food. It's a way of gardening that is more in tune with the natural world, creating a system that is more resilient, sustainable, and ultimately more rewarding. It's about cultivating life, not just plants. So, after you've applied the inoculant this March, what kind of results should you actually expect to see? It's important to remember that the magic is happening underground, so the changes won't be as dramatic as spraying on a liquid fertilizer. You won't see a mushroom pop up next to your tomato plant. Instead, you will notice more subtle, yet powerful signs of vigour. The inoculated plants will often have slightly thicker stems and a more robust, compact growth habit. Their leaves may appear a darker, richer shade of green due to the improved nutrient uptake. You'll notice they are less prone to wilting during hot days. Later in the season, the real payoff becomes clear. You'll often see more flowers, which leads to a greater yield of fruits and vegetables. The most significant result is resilience. Your plants will simply be tougher and better able to handle the inevitable stresses of the growing season, from heat waves to pest pressure. Finally, let's go beyond what comes in a bag. While using a commercial inoculant is a fantastic way to guarantee you're introducing these beneficial fungi, you can also adopt gardening practices that encourage the native mycorrhizal populations already living in your soil. The number one thing you can do is to minimize soil disturbance. Every time you till or extensively dig your garden, you are shredding those delicate fungal networks. Adopting no-till or minimal-till practices helps preserve this underground web. Secondly, keep the soil covered. Use organic mulches like wood chips, straw, or shredded leaves. This protects the soil from temperature extremes, conserves moisture, and provides a slow-release food source for the entire soil food web, including the fungi. And finally, always have something growing. Keeping living roots in the ground as much as possible, through the use of cover crops in the off-season, provides a continuous source of energy to keep the fungal network alive and thriving year-round. So there you have it. The secret isn't some miracle chemical, it's a living partnership. By adding mycorrhizal fungi to your soil when you plant in March, you're not just giving your plants a little boost, you're connecting them to an ancient, intelligent network that will supercharge their root systems, seek out water and nutrients, and defend them against disease. You're changing their entire potential for the season. The real aha moment is realizing that the best way to grow strong plants isn't just to keep feeding them, but to empower them to feed themselves. You're building a self-sufficient, resilient ecosystem right in your own backyard. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the world beneath our feet. If this information sparked a new idea for your garden, do me a favour and hit that like button. And be sure to subscribe for more secrets to building a thriving natural garden. Now I have a question for you. Have you ever used mycorrhizal fungi before? Or is this a new concept for you? I would love to hear about your experiences or any questions you have in the comments below.